Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video. Good morning. Welcome back to the podcast, Creative Conviction. I want to talk today from the Journal of Discourses of Brigham Young, a little bit on the theme of faith and works. You know, we've talked about that in the past here, kind of a little bit indignant about that. I want to take a little calmer approach to it and let Brigham explain the doctrine that I tried to explain prior on faith and works and the misunderstanding that I think is happening in the church right now. There seems to be this push in the church. And I believe it stems from our leadership not having that defined north like we used to have in the past. So what I want to do is go through today, and let me get this out of the sun a little more here. Yeah, we were recording and had to take a couple shots at this. Well, I want to go through today and talk about, let's listen to Brigham Young. He explains the same idea, the same, look, this battle between faith and works, and how we show our faith is through our works has been ongoing for years. And all of a sudden, it seemed like it was never really an issue. But now it seems as if our works are being put aside and we're more just focused on the emotions of being accepted of who we are and how we are. And it seems like we're told to think celestial, but yet what we're doing in the chapels at church on Sundays is not anything that's celestial. It's a lower kingdom, a lower law that we are living in those chapels. And I want to explain the importance that we show our faith by actually living a celestial law. That means that there's standards and there's things that are required of us to do in order for us to qualify to be worthy of an inheritance in the kingdom of our Father. Now, that worthiness does not come on our own, but it does come through all we can do. After all we can do. And there's been some effort to try to thwart that as if, well, you just have to make an effort. And I just happen to disagree with that. And Brigham Young, I think, is going to reinforce that right now. And this goes to show you the importance of us listening to past prophets, especially prophets that have already undergone a lot of these challenges. And if the Lord's already clarified the answer to this and why we seem to be wanting to push away the past prophets and just focus on the current prophet and wait for him to say something. If he doesn't say it, then it's not there, right? Everybody's in limbo, waiting. Hey, I just offer this, that yes, we have a current prophet who I sustain. I do. However, I understand that we are also encouraged. We came here to this world to seek out understanding, to seek out for ourselves truth. And nobody else can tell us the truth. And you know, I had this opportunity when I was meeting with a general authority one time, and he has said to me, he was at the stake center and I was there. He said to me, he said, Brother Eric, he said, you know, I got a couple hours. How would you like to sit and have a one-on-one with a general authority? No restrictions for a couple hours. Great. And one of my questions I asked him in that one-on-one was, I said to him, why is it the pulpit, you seem to give these confusing messages? So let's jump into what Brigham explained to us about faith and works, and let's let Brigham explain to us the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on this topic. Without any further ado, let's jump into Brigham's short courses.
Journal of Discourses, Volume 3, Discourse 21. Delivered in the Tabernacle, Great Salt Lake City, May 6, 1855. Subjects include the necessity of the saints having the spirit of revelation, faith and works, and the power of God and of the devil. By Brigham Young.
It is hardly time to close the meeting, and I take the liberty of making a few remarks. I expect in a day or two to leave home for a few weeks, to visit the natives in the South, and shall call on the brethren in that region. I now wish to ask a few favors for myself, for those who may accompany me, and for all who remain. If you should hear any reports about me during our absence, always have enough of the Spirit of truth to know whether they are false or true. Always so enjoy the Spirit of the Lord that you can discern between truth and error, and know the spirit of evil from the spirit of righteousness. If you should hear that I have apostatized from the gospel and gone to California.
So the point I want to say, Brigham's starting off saying, look, in order for you guys to know truth, when you start hearing things come back, rumors come back, or lies come back, and that would have been the social media of Brigham's day, right? How can we discern the truth? And he's going to go on and talk a little bit about that, but we always need to have the spirit of truth with us. In other words, we need to walk in that spirit or strive to walk in that spirit. Sometimes, people tell me, well, I just can't do it. It's just so much to do. And I feel that burden. Every day. Got two little ones that just are the most, they're my youngest, and they're the most difficult of all, even worse than my twins were, as far as trying to get them to want to do things with us spiritually and just do things as a family and have like a spiritual moment where we have scripture reading or we have our family home evening. It's always chaos. But if we strive, we work diligently and try to figure out ways around that, then we can have the spirit of truth with us. Now, the other thing is, what are we striving to do? We have to strive to seek out information. Just start somewhere. Maybe you're wrong in the beginning, but if you're praying and if you've done research, you've read your scriptures, things will reason with the scriptures. Things fall in that line that reason with the doctrine. And then it's the spirit kind of testifying to you. No, it's the spirit testifying to you that you're on the right path. When you find something that doesn't reason, for example, if it goes against free agency or agency, however you want to put that, if it goes against agency or freedoms, then you know that it's not of the Spirit of God. If it comes, as our current prophet has said, if it comes from anybody who is atheistic, who's non-believer, then don't listen to those people. They're not going to take you down the right path, and they don't have the Spirit of truth with them either. So it's going to be very, very important, and that's the suggestion I'm getting from our prophet. Now, that being said, we'll jump back into the video, Walter, and let's continue with the video, please.
To get gold, you need not believe that report. But if you hear that I am opposed to a spirit which prevails among a good many, who profess to be saints, you may believe it. But if you hear that the Indians have killed me, you need not believe that. Still, if the Lord sees fit to take me away, I am just as ready to go while on this mission as at any other time. I never expect to be better prepared, though I presume that I shall only be gone a few weeks and return, and I ask all the brethren and sisters to be faithful while I am gone. Do not be fretting about this, that, or the other thing, for I will warrant that we shall have harvest as well as seed time, and that we shall reap a good harvest. I expect that some of the brethren may think, now is the time for speculation, and may run and buy up all the wheat and flour for that purpose. But there is enough, and will be enough. There will be no lack, and if we have no surplus, what does it matter? It will all be right, and we will acknowledge the hand of the Lord in all things. It would be pleasing if all the saints had strong faith and confidence, but sometimes many seem to falter in their feelings. I do not know how many I might find in this congregation who would have faith enough to believe that we could live on the tops of these high mountains, which are 6,619 feet higher than the temple block, in case we were called to go up there and live, and there was no other place for us. I do not know whether a great many in this congregation could have faith to believe that we could live there. At the same time, when I exhort the brethren to have faith, I really had rather that they would have good works. I do not care half so much about their faith as I do about their works. Faith is not so obvious a principle, but in good works you see a manifestation, an evidence, a proof that there is something good about the person who is in the habit of doing them. Now, if
Walter,
the people will only be full of good works.
So what Brigham's saying here is that by our works, we show our faith. right? So we're seeing the arguments out there of those trying to, and I'm not sure why there's this movement for members in the church, and it even appears sometimes from our church headquarters to align us with other Christians. Now, I understand going forward in these last times that we're going to need to unite, and I've always been saying that. I had a friend that I used to do this podcast with that always would talk about and bashing with other Christians and things he would say back to them, and he was always really kind of frustrated by these people. And I thought to myself a lot, why do you even why battle with them? We need to be on that same page. We need to find there's where we find what's in common. It's funny because he would shoot to battle with the fellow Christians and yet try to find a common ground with the LGBTQ movement and the illegal immigrants that are invading the country this time, and try to find that common ground instead of fellow Christians. And I think that's inverted. Or even finding a common ground is with fellow Christians and uniting and form voting blocks and so forth that will, for the right congressmen, lawmakers, that will secure our borders and that will help us to go back to a more Judeo-Christian, a more fundamental, if you will, of principles, of Judeo-Christian principles back in society here in America. If the rest of the world wants to do something different, then that's up to them. But America is founded on the Judeo-Christian values. And since we've decided to deviate from that, that's where we've come into more of an atheistic and a collapse. And now we're just told to hold on to our faith. And it's almost like it's being extended out to us that just have faith. Don't worry about your works. In other words, you're saved by grace. And this is where I'm coming with this. You're saved by the grace of Christ. And that is the Protestant Christian belief, that no matter what they do, they're saved by the grace of Christ. Now, that is not exactly a true doctrine. There's some truth to that. And the fact that we believe that doctrine is also, I'm sorry to say, not true. We believe that we are saved through the atonement, right? And in that atonement, there's two factors. In that atonement, there is the habilitating factor that allows us, when we truly want to repent, we truly get on our knees and we want to make that change, that it gives us the strength and somehow to do it. And I can speak from experience there. I didn't think I could change and come back here. I didn't think I was way out there. But through the power of the atonement, I was able to. So I'm talking about a personal experience of being way out there on the other side. I was deep into the worldly sins. And for me to stop those and stop those habits and stop that little bit of fame that I had at a point in my life, it was very difficult. And I had to rely on the Spirit, or the atonement, the power of the enabling power of the atonement to help me do it. And you can do that too. Anybody can do that. So there is faith and works. I'm going to now rely on this. I'm going to turn myself to my Father and say, thy will be done, not mine. What do I got to do to change? So what came to me was, well, if you want to change, you're going to have to get rid of the friends you're with. It means you have to spend a little bit of time alone until you make new friends, or at least friends that will support you. You can keep it. You got to be honest about that. And I could pray about which friends to eliminate. Stop doing certain things, going certain places that influence you or tempt you. Those things, I had to work at those. Those are works. Those are actions. I could not continue to keep doing those things and expect to find change in my life and expect to find myself living then a higher law, which would then allow me my inheritance. Our inheritance, section 130. There's a couple verses in section 130 that I really like, but one in particular is that those who seek for understanding have more the advantage in this life, have more advantage in the next life to come, right? We'll have more advantage this life and then the next life to come. And everything we do is based on law, it's predicated on law. So the law that we live is the inheritance that we will receive. Living that law, changing myself and leaving behind worldly ambitions, worldly desires, as the rich man, when it came to the Savior, meant I had to do an action. I had to do something to show my faith. So what we're hearing now is kind of a watered down version that's kind of penetrating the church right now, and it really concerns me now, because the apathy in the church is so bad, and not just in America, it's everywhere I have been. And I've been to many different countries, and I've attended church in many different countries. And I'm just talking about on vacation, spent time studying. So sometimes I was in countries 2, 3 months, 4 months. And so I saw the apathy. When I worked in the stake, I saw the apathy in our stake. And we had a large stake. We had 9 wards, well, 8 wards and a branch. So my point being that what Brigham's saying here is reiterating that faith and works are very necessary, and they go together. Now that grace, obviously, we will do all we can, right? And then the rest is added unto it, like in Matthew 25. Do all we can do, and the rest should be added unto us. And that's exactly what the Lord asks for. That's where the grace comes in, is that we don't have to achieve perfection. We just have to want to achieve perfection and to strive to achieve perfection. But you've got to want and you've got to strive in order for the grace to be able to have its effect. Now, will all men resurrect? Yes. Even the sons of perdition will resurrect. But will they maintain their bodies after the resurrection of the sons of perdition? No, they'll lose their bodies again. So, and then our bodies will become the glories that we will inherit, whether it be celestial, terrestrial, or telestial. And that is all going to be based on our works here while we're on this earth. Now, one could say, what about the people that live in the middle of the jungle in Brazil? Well, I'm just going to say this much. There's not a whole lot of people out there anymore that don't have access to society or to the modern world. There's not a lot of people that are just remotely lost. Pretty much we know where everybody is now. These natives have chosen to leave themselves there and recluse, because it's a dominance game. That's a control. It's a power thing. And they want to have that power. And so they tell everybody else, we need to keep our cultures. We need to maintain our cultures, because they want to stay in power. And so those that are there under this power monger, under this tyrannical type of control, which exists in these native communities down there. And I know that because I dealt with them. I deal with them when I go into the jungle a lot. Those children growing up, for example, could be deprived of being able to know the Lord. Yes and no, because they all know there's more out there. So they can choose if they want to go and find out more information, or just maintain themselves in the state of ignorance that they're at. They say it's a state of innocence. It's still a state of ignorance, because they're not educating themselves, right? So then when we die, the Lord will know the sincerity of our hearts and the efforts we made with the information we had, but it's still a work. We still have to make that desire. I thank you for being with us on Courageous Conviction. Remember, there's 5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes, so stay with us, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.